Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are most welcome to this live here from me, Healing with Marcus, where we're just gonna. Here you are. Welcome on board. Welcome, welcome. Just gonna set the tone for a little bit with the drum. So, welcome on board to the Friday Night Live here at Healing with Marcus. I am Shaman Marcus, and I do these lives. We haven't really quite figured out what days of the week everything will happen, but right now I moved from Saturday to Friday, and hopefully that is going to work out for us for a little bit. Now, Mm. I do these lives because I do a lot of online activations normally. I do a lot of healing work here, and I also do a lot of videos on both YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And I do 1 hour live meditations as well in silence. So somehow it dawned on me that we should also do once a week or more. I'm going to be coming on board on these live just regular broadcasts where I'm discussing what's going on in the world right now. And from my point of view and from the shamanic point of view of healing the world. And the underlying theme here is light workers unite. So it is about us light workers, people who are feeling that they are standing in the light, feeling that they are representing a part of growth, human growth, where we are learning how to heal both ourselves and thereby also the world. Because that is how it works, right? We end up healing our own hearts, we end up healing ourselves. And as we do, you start to vibrate higher when your heart heals, start to vibrate higher, start to vibrate out into the world. And then whoever you run into, wherever you go, when you are in your higher vibration, you also affect their lives in a heightening effect. Or you end up like helping them to raise their vibration just by sitting in your highest vibration. So that's also why the theme is Light Workers Unite, because the idea of this is that people who feel like they are light workers, we need to know that we are supporting each other, that we are being supported, and that we are sitting in a frequency of love and light. Not to say that we can't see the dark, not to say that we shouldn't acknowledge either our own darkness or other people's darkness. But usually, when our eyes start to focus only on other people's darkness, we forget our own. So, first off, we have to come back into ourselves. We got to come back home into our heart center. We have to face our demons, our shadow, and do what they call shadow work. But it's really just sitting with your uncomfortability, sitting with your discomfort, facing the sides of yourself that you don't want to see. Sit with it, love it, love those sides, allow them to be, embrace, embrace, embrace. So we have truckers going on in Canada. We have a huge convoy of truckers driving through Canada up to Ottawa because they are protesting the mandates that are going on in Canada. They are claiming that they want to choose if they want to inject themselves or not. Which, of course, where I stand on that, and where I feel like most light workers, I hope that most of us are on that same page. is that it should, of course, be everybody's right to choose. That there absolutely should be no coercion or mandates whatsoever to make people inject something into their body, their own sovereign body, physical being, that they may not want in their body. And especially not something that was taken so fast, that came through the ranks so fast. And even then, there should still never be coercion. Ever. When we look at the manipulation of the media, when we look at that, this platform that we're on right now, that we look at this platform, we look at Instagram, we look at Facebook, all those platforms, if I mention certain names here, I get taken down. If I mention certain words in conjunction, I'm breaking their rules, and I'm not allowed to have the video up. If you don't see a problem with that, I would suggest that you read 1984 or by George Orwell, right? Or that you look into Fahrenheit 451. I want to say it was Ray Bradbury who wrote that, but I'm not sure who wrote it. It's one of the big authors of sci-fi. So Fahrenheit 451, 1984, or Animal Farm by George Orwell as well, or many of the futuristic sci-fi novels that are out there, or V for Vendetta. You can look up V for Vendetta, the movie, or The Matrix. Watch The Matrix. See what you come up with, what comes out for you. Because, as human beings and as sovereign beings, every single one of us have a right to do with your body as you choose. And yeah, of course, that doesn't always mean that you have to do the right choice. It doesn't mean that somebody who's addicted to drugs does the right choice when they take more drugs, or if it's alcohol, or if it's food. But you still have a right to it. You have a right to yourself. And the more we can learn that, the more we step into our higher self and knowing, your deeper knowing in your body, the more you step into that space, the whole healthier you will be, the more whole you begin to feel. And as you do, you take back your power. You become very, very powerful, which in a way is what the truckers are doing in Canada right now. They're coming together as a big group and they say, no, we want to choose what we put in our system. We want to choose what we do with our bodies. And we want like that right to be our own. And I have a lot of people in my life who I know who had to get the injection because they would lose their jobs. And if that's not coercion, I don't know what is. Now, the funny thing is, the most people I know who got the jab, they also got the illness. They also became very sick. Just like I had it last week or 2 weeks ago. And I became a bit sick. I was sick, really sick for one day. Then I had a few more days of fever. Then I've been recovering, and it's still lingering. It's a slow recovery process. But it's pretty much the exact same development with me, and I am unjabbed. I don't have anything in my system. It's the exact same development as many of the people I know who are jabbed and still got it. So then the question remains, why are the mandates so strong? Why are there still countries saying you have to do this, or you're being of danger to everybody else? Because if if there was such a huge difference between the jabbed and the unjabbed, If there was the case that the jabbed people, people who have gotten the injection, never got sick and could not spread it around, then of course that would mean that the thing is working. And if the case was that the unjabbed get much, much sicker all the time. But the truth isn't that. The truth is that everybody gets pretty much the same. We get as serious, as ill, all of us. And if your media outlets are saying something opposite, look into different forms of media. Look at the alternative media, because the narrative of the public media, the accepted narrative, is really, really, it's angled one way only. It's the same media where you're not allowed to question the validity of the jab. You're not allowed to question how dangerous any one of these things are. I lost my mom. I probably shared this here not too long ago. I lost my mom on December 31st. That was 2 weeks after she received her booster. And other people in my presence lost their elderly parents same day or around the same time, also weeks within having received the last shot. That, to me, seems to be happening a lot. Of course, I could be wrong. Could be my perception. But it could also be that a lot of people, their immune system can't handle the third shot. And it could be that when you're elderly, if your immune system is already kind of weak and you get a third shot, that just pushes everything over the edge. If that's the case, the people who are pushing for mandates should hopefully be held responsible at some point. Hopefully, there'll be some sort of looking into it. Because right now, there are many countries in Europe that are completely letting go of all restrictions. All restrictions. They are letting go of the mask requirement. They're letting go of the jab requirement. They're letting go of testing requirements. And why? Because what those countries are saying is that so many people are getting sick now that there is nothing we can do to stop this, and that the V is not working, that the jabs are not working. So they're not pushing for it anymore because they don't see a difference. While we have some countries like Canada and like here, the US, where the governments are still pushing, in spite of a lot of people's resistance, governments are still pushing. And that's the other thing is, right? If we looked into democracy and we looked into what is real democracy, well, real democracy, which is of course tough to accomplish because most countries have, representative democracy where we elect somebody and then we let them run all the decisions. But if we look at the democracy in many countries right now, the governments have been enforcing the mandates, and the if you don't take the jab, you lose your job. If you don't take this, you lose this. And you get $50 if you get the jab. You get a free meal at McDonald's. You get a free Uber ride. You get free this and that. You get whatever gifts they were bribing people with. You realize at any time that you have to bribe people to take something, that you should be a little aware that there could be a problem. We should be a little bit aware that there's an agenda going on. That when you're not allowed to question how good is this jab, when you're not allowed to question that on these platforms, there's something really fishy going on. Super fishy. Not a little bit, really fishy. And so in Canada, we got the truckers. And of course, most of our regular media will not be reporting on it. Most of our regular media will be quieting, piping down around the truckers, saying that it's very small, like what Trudeau in Canada said. He said it was a small fringe group of truckers that were expressing unacceptable views. And even using that word, unacceptable views, for a prime minister of any country to say that those views are not acceptable, and the only views they have is that they want to choose if they are going to get jabbed or not. We have moved so far away from democracy and from free speech. We are so far away so quickly that it's hair rising, like whatever the word would be. It makes my hair stand up, right? Because it happened fast. The loss of freedom of speech, the loss of freedom of expression happened so quickly. And it is very serious. That's the one thing that I always felt, is that even no matter what your opinion is, I personally believe that you should have a right to express your opinion, no matter what. Because that's the only way we can guarantee that I have a right to express my opinion, that we have a right to all express our opinions. If we don't put up like this, well, if you believe within the box, then you can express what you think. But if you think outside the box, we can't accept that. That's very, very dangerous. And that is the exact line of thinking that the Nazis had, that the communist parties in both China and Russia had or have. In China, they're still having it. China, dissidents are treated horrible, right? And they have been able to convince their own population that you got to be loyal to the party. You got to be loyal to the voices that are in charge. And if you're not loyal to the other people either, which is, of course, what's going on now with the jab and everything else around it. That if you're not jabbing, then you're not loyal to the other people, then you're being selfish, which is, of course, just another way for infiltration. This is just another mind wash, brainwashing technique. So luckily we have the truckers. Luckily we have Canadians who are standing up for their rights, so that there could be hopefully a big enough splash that most of us have a chance to kind of wake up and stand our ground and say, no, I don't want that in my body, and I have a right to say no. So when we are in this space of spiritual healing, because this is what it's all about, right? The trickiness of the jab, when it became a coercion, when it became forced, when it became mandated, on my end, I started seeing that now it's time for light workers to unite. It's time for us to stand up and say, no, that's not okay with me. That could be okay with somebody else, but it's not okay with me. So in that sense, we are healing ourselves, we are healing our world, and we are learning how to become full human beings. And one of the beautiful movements of the current jab situation and the current environment is that we learn how to hold everybody in love. We learn how to hold everybody in light. We learn how to rise above our opinions and our feelings and our thoughts. Now, I'm not saying that you can still come and jab me so that you can be happy, so you can feel safe. No, no, no. Because it's not okay for anybody to put their own health at risk for somebody else, right? It's not how it works. But to not have resentments around it, for me to be like, okay, yeah, I just don't, I want to keep the right to choose, but I'm not going to resent you for it. I'm going to understand. I'm going to come from a higher vibration where I'm understanding that everybody's doing the best they can. That at first, many people were afraid, very afraid of the illness itself. And when they were really afraid, they ended up going in and feeling like, oh my God, the jab is the solution. Yes, give me the jab. Give me the jab. That's going to save me. And that's what many people felt, because that's what we were told by the media. And if you were listening to the propaganda, if you were listening to the machinery, yeah, of course you would believe that. I wouldn't blame you for 1 minute, not for 1 minute. But I kind of felt the fishiness pretty early on. I felt the fishiness when we all started, we were supposed to be afraid all the time. And then they started silencing the doctors who were questioning things. They started silencing anybody who was questioning the narrative. And that to me was a warning flag. And then when they took videos down, that was for me like, okay, that's it. This is horrible. This is censorship. But I also don't blame the people who have been caught up in fear. Because how can you blame somebody for being afraid? We are all coming from our own inner understanding. We're doing the best we can, wherever we come from. It's based in our perception. Now, if we can learn how to come back home into our hearts, if we can learn how to come back into ourselves and begin to heal our wounds, heal our hearts, heal what's going on in here, then we can spread that healing into the world. Either you are jabbed or you're not jabbed, we can still heal and we can still help the healing process. So there is beauty in this situation as well. There's beauty in every single situation in the world. And in this case, the beauty comes that we all get to move into a higher understanding. We all get to be provoked enough to see our own triggers, to see what's going on with us, so we can go deeper. And that is so much what our world needs, right? It needs light workers to unite. It needs us to come together. It needs us to feel the vibration of love, of light, and of basic joy, right? That's what the world needs. We need to come together in health and in healing. And over time, we will. Over time, enough people are waking up. Over time, enough generations will be waking up. And lastly, I'll just want to mention that last weekend I went to Austin for a retreat. It was a sacred medicine retreat, which was based in the psilocybin world. And it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Me and the other people who held space, we got to take 8 people into the multidimensional reality of the psilocybin world. And moving into that space, I go in with the clients, I go in with the people, and I become I'm the shaman, so I walk between the worlds. I bridge the worlds, working with the unseen. And it is amazing, so beautiful. Because when you go into that space, you can see and feel where everybody is all the time. And it's just a beautiful experience of healing, of love, and of light. And those are big journeys, very big journeys. They're very long, takes hours, and like 6 hours, just about, of the most intense part of the journey. And after about 2 hours, people in the beginning, there's so much new stuff coming through. But after 2 hours or so, you're getting a little broken down. And that's when you start to face your own inner self, your own inner fears and your past, and releasing things from childhood, releasing trauma, releasing things out of your life. And it's beautiful. The amount of healing that happens on these sacred journeys, sacred medicine journeys, unbelievable, completely unbelievable. If you have a chance to look into it, or if you just want to write to me and talk about it, please do. So it's been about almost half an hour, 25 minutes. This is good enough for today. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for watching. Hopefully there are more videos coming out soon. I had the disease 2 weeks ago, and it took 1 week to recover, and now I'm still like in recovery mode, but I'm much better. But I still am low on energy, and I noticed that I need to. I don't have the same go to make videos and all that I did before the illness hit me. So I'm gonna be coming back around a little bit over time. All right, my loves, have a beautiful, beautiful day. It was great to see you on here today, and I will talk to you again soon. Namaste and aho.